Manchester City won, Liverpool won. An equalizing goal from Trent Alexander-Arnold cancels out Erling Haaland's 50th goal in the Premier League. And it means that Man City remains top, but it's very, very tight. 29 points for Manchester City, 28 points for Liverpool. And then after that, it gets really tricky. Arsenal, if they win against Brentford later today, they'll go top of the table. Much to discuss. Luis Miguel Echegaray, Mark Ogden. Oggy will join us later from the Etihad. But obviously, we have to begin with Stevie Nicol. Stevie, give me your initial reactions from that game as Man City and Liverpool draw 1-0 at the Etihad.
Well, I've pretty much got two things in my head. One is I'll take the point. But the other thing is kind of disappointed in the game. You know, I think all the things that we were talking about in the lead up to this game, about the early kickoff, about the game being played when it was, about the players being tired, you know, guys coming back from international duty. And unfortunately, I think we saw all the problems that we thought that we would see. And I think it took away from the game. Yes, I think first half City passed the ball really well. But in the final third, although Haaland gets his goal, in the final third, they just didn't have that sting in their tail. And I thought Liverpool were the same. Salah never in the game. You know, Jota went off injured, never in the game. Nunez had a header. Good save from Edson. But again, Liverpool going forward didn't look as though they had the sting in their tail to cause City problems. So I've got the feeling of, okay, it's a point apiece. But I feel as though we've been robbed of a real game, a real spectacle, because there was no sharpness around both sides. So I feel a little deflated, to be honest.
It definitely didn't live up to the matches of previous seasons and even earlier on than that. That's for sure. As you mentioned, Manchester City really couldn't just kill off the game in certain moments, and Liverpool were a little too hesitant. So let's go through the game here, Stevie Nicol, before Oggy joins us later. Let's talk specifically about the first half. Obviously, Man City came gung-ho, guns blazing. Jeremy Doku proving to be a massive threat, meaning that Trent Alexander-Arnold had to sit back a little bit, hence to your point about being hesitant. And then Erling Haaland makes it 1-0, scoring his 50th goal in 48 matches. That's the fastest ever in Premier League history. And look at this graphic right here. The fastest player to reach 50 Bundesliga goals, the fastest player to reach 50 Premier League goals, and the fastest player to reach 30 Champions League matches. Pretty impressive, Stevie Nicol.
Yeah, and he took it well. You know, you always feel as though this guy's going to score when he gets an opportunity. And he took it really well. You know, Alisson's unfortunate with his clearance. It goes to Ake, who does well to get the ball to Haaland. But you got to look at Matip and Van Dijk. How can you let a guy... I mean, this guy's a monster, but it almost felt as though he was invisible and nobody saw him and nobody picked him up. And as we saw and as we said, when this guy gets an opportunity, you pretty much know it's going to end up in the back of the goal. And you'd have to say at the time that City deservedly were ahead. I thought they were the better side. As I said, I thought they passed the ball from back to middle to front. I thought they passed the ball really well. They were patient. Liverpool couldn't get close enough to them to stop them. And Liverpool really were just trying to break. But even when they broke, other than the header from Nunez, they couldn't keep a hold of the ball. So, yeah, going into half-time, I can assure you, I wasn't sitting here thinking Liverpool are really at it and they were going to get back into this. I was kind of expecting a little bit of more of the same from City, but again, I think they run out of legs in the second half. And Liverpool, just because they're behind, were the ones that were pushing it. You know, Klopp making 5 subs, bringing on forwards. Other than Endo, he's bringing on forward-thinking players. And I guess at the end, they probably got what they deserved. Alexander-Arnold taking his goal well. But yeah, again, I can't get the feeling that we've been robbed of something today, something that should have been a fantastic game. But as you started with, you know, Haaland getting his 50th Premier League goal, absolutely incredible. The guy's a monster. And I wish he was in my side.
I think many teams and fans share that exact sentiment. But as you mentioned, the second half was even probably more deflating. A few controversial moments. What did you make of the situation when Ruben Dias thought he had scored, but there was a presumable foul on Alisson, even though the ball slipped through his hands from a corner? That was before, obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold equalized. It was 1-0 at the moment, and Man City thought they had made it 2-0.
Yeah.
What did you make of that non-decision decision to not give it a goal or give it a foul?
Do you know, here's the thing. When goalkeepers are always going to be protected in a situation like that. And I think the one thing you can't argue with is that Akanji's arm is on Alisson's shoulder/arm. And when you do that, you're making the decision easy for the referee. You know, to give a goal when the opposition has their arm on the goalkeeper, it's an easy way out. Is it the right decision? Probably. You know, when goalkeepers are going up with the two arms in the air and somebody touches one of their arms, then it really is going to knock them for six. Now, it wasn't the strongest challenge, I will admit, but the fact that he does have an arm on him is always going to make it easy for the referee and the VAR to say that it's a free kick. Now, in my opinion, Alisson, in most of this game, didn't cover himself in glory. He made one good stop from Haaland in the second half, just before Liverpool actually scored. But other than that, you know, a guy who we talk about having such great feet, you know, he looked as though he had his slippers on with no studs. I mean, he just looked uncomfortable with the ball at his feet the whole game. So, yes, he made a save from Haaland, but I think he was a little fortunate on other occasions also.
Yeah, overall, it wasn't a great performance from the Brazilian goalkeeper. But regardless, in spite of all of that, it was still 1-0, and Liverpool still could have found a way. In fact, I had a tweet in my drafts, Stevie, saying Liverpool are going to score here. I'm telling you. And obviously, Jurgen Klopp realized that he had to gamble. He had to put TAA a little bit more forward, and that's exactly what happened after the substitutions. Trent Alexander-Arnold scoring, making it 1-1, revitalizing, at least for that moment, for Liverpool, and it ends 1-0 as we started right there. And let's bring in now Mark Ogden from the Etihad. Would love to get the reaction and the sentiment from the stadium. Oggy, fantastic to have you here, my friend. Give me just the same way that I asked Stevie, give me your initial reaction from that 1-0 as Man City and Liverpool draw 1-0 in this game.
Well, I think it's good news for the title race. I think it shows that City weren't great today. I don't think Liverpool were great either, but Liverpool got to get a point out of it. I think, you know, Chelsea have got a point off City this season. Liverpool have. Arsenal beat them. Newcastle beat City in the Carabao Cup. So there's a vulnerability about City now that I think the big teams can exploit, but it's which one of them, if any of them, is able to emerge from the pack and take advantage of that. That City fall off a level maybe. And Liverpool for me are the best bet, but today there was something really flat about Liverpool today for the first 70 minutes, and whether it was because it was a 12:30 game after the international break, I don't know. I mean, these are the excuses that you often get from players and managers, but Liverpool, you know, came out with a point, and that ends the, you know, pretty dismal record at the Etihad. But also, City were on the verge of breaking a record dating back to the 19th century. So if they'd have won this game, they'd have equalled Sunderland's record of, I think, 23 consecutive home wins in all competitions set in the 1890s. So I'm not sure if Steve remembers it, but, you know, obviously that is a big result. And the fact
Sunderland? No, absolutely not.
But, Stevie, you know, do you remember it?
No. Sunderland. Because when he said Sunderland, I was like, what?
Yeah. No, I think Steve was probably in diapers at the time. But anyway, I digress.
I've never watched at Roker Park.
But anyway, Liverpool have done the Premier League a favour today by getting a result, and I think Tottenham are next in the Etihad next week, and I think that is what I take from it, that City, if a big team, capable team, gets a run together, they can win the league. I still think City are favourites, but they are dropping points against the big teams.
Before I go back to Stevie for a second, Oggy, let me ask you something. You tweeted about there was a moment when, you know, and it's echoing both your points about it was a little bit of a underwhelming fixture, that Pep Guardiola turned around to the crowd, and I was like, come on, let's get these boys going. I feel like in many ways it's kind of incredible that he had to do that regarding the magnitude of this match.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't want to beat Man City fans here, but before the game, maybe 5 minutes before the game kicked off, I was amazed by how empty the stadium was. And if that was at Anfield on a game of this magnitude, it would be noisy, there'd be flags out, there'd be colour, there'd be a real sense of expectation, anticipation. And there was none of that. And then the game itself was played to this kind of atmosphere of almost silence. Now, what happens when teams win all the time? The fans get used to it and they kind of get a little bit, they have this sense of entitlement that, we expect to win and we expect great teams to be rolled over here. And City got some great players. Erling Haaland smashed the record today for the first two quickest to 50 goals. But again, it's almost like the crowd is sitting back like they're at a theatre and just waiting to be entertained. And Guardiola's mentioned it in the past that he thinks the City crowd is too quiet. And he turned around, fingers in his ears. He was like, come on, hurry up, get some noise, and it didn't really work. The fans didn't really bite on it. And I think the City fans haven't got that in them at times to make it really atmospheric here. And I think, you go to Anfield, you go to Old Trafford, you go to, St James's Park, you just know it's going to be a wall of noise. And here it's like, watching the players, you've got to turn it on for us. And sometimes the players need the crowd to turn it on for them.
Stevie, what do you think? If this game had been reversed and it was at Anfield coming back from the international break, do you think Liverpool would have gotten that win? Do you think the energy would have been different? Or is it as simple as the tactic kind of explained for themselves?
No, I was trying to think of an argument against Augie, but I really can't. I do remember myself playing early kickoffs. There was situations where the Grand National was on at Liverpool and we were at Anfield and we kick off at 11:30, not 12:30. And I remember the atmosphere being flat. But that's a long time ago. I mean, Anfield now, particularly for proper games, shall we say, as Augie said, the flags are flying, the noise is gone, there's a buzz around the place, even for early kickoff. So I really can't argue with Augie. I think there's no question that City fans do sometimes have a problem getting themselves going. And yes, I do think that generally most of the time it's up to the players to get the crowd going. But on occasion, when the team needs them, sometimes they're not quite there. And probably that's what happened today. They just couldn't get themselves behind the team because they weren't up for it and the team didn't look up for it. Other than Doku, I mean, I look around the field and on both sides, you kind of wonder where they were. Nobody really looked normal. Nobody really looked like the player they are. And so I guess all around it was tough to get for everybody to get going.
Yeah, go ahead, Augie.
I think for me today was a day when City really missed Kevin De Bruyne, and we haven't really said that much this season. I think today would have been his game because I think the midfield at times there's massive gaps in the midfield, but nobody was really kind of going box to box and taking the ball from one end of the pitch to the other. City have got great midfielders, but Rodri's happy to pass it sideways and just move it 5 yards, and there was a lot of that today, a lot of kind of five-yard passes, and Liverpool's midfield disappointed me a bit today. I think it could have been exploited by De Bruyne. Obviously, De Bruyne's not fit, but they have got to this point for this season, City, without having to rely on De Bruyne. But I think today was a game when it really would have made a difference.
Yeah,
particularly in the first half, because sitting watching it, I was worried. It felt like it just takes one mistake, and actually it was a mistake really at the end of the day, where Alisson with a poor kick out and Ake took advantage of it and played Haaland through. But yeah, I mean, you talk about possession. Liverpool just couldn't get close to Manchester City. And again, I don't want to harp on it, but a game of this magnitude, this size, this importance, there's only one yellow card that doesn't appear until 20 minutes to go.
Yeah.
I mean that tells you that players can't get to each other. In the first half, Liverpool couldn't get to City. They couldn't get near City to win the ball back. And in the second half, neither side could get close to either of the respective opponents. As I said, until 20 minutes to go before we actually saw a yellow card. So yeah, I mean, yes, you're going to miss a De Bruyne, but under the circumstances, would that have been enough? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, in many ways, Jurgen Klopp was probably caught between a rock and a hard place because making Trent Alexander sit back to deny the Doku nightmare that he is when he's one-on-ones also impeded them from probably being more forceful going forward, at least until later in the game. But Nathan Ake had a great game, Augie. Kept Mohamed Salah pretty quiet, even though Salah probably himself was a little bit reserved. So before we move on, let's focus on the result. A fair result, Augie, 1-0 in the end, or do you think in the end somebody probably could have stolen the 3 points?
Yeah, I think 1-1 was a fair result. Now, obviously, City fans will probably rightly argue that goal that was disallowed was a bit soft. It was definitely soft, but as Stevie says, you put a fingernail on the shoulder of somebody that's a goalkeeper, and it's a foul. But I think overall, I think it was a fair result. I think, Liverpool had a game plan, and, it was almost like to sit back and let City have a go at them and try and hit them on the counter-attack. Didn't work, but still, they created enough chances. And if Darwin Núñez could stay on side a little bit more or have a little bit more control, they might have scored more. So, yeah, it could have ended 3-1 to either side. But I think the draw's a fair result. Like I said, it's a great result for the Premier League title race.
Yeah, let's go to that specific point now. Because, Collins, let's show that graphic here and update everybody of the Premier League table. City, 29. Liverpool, 28 points. Arsenal, 27. Spurs, 26. Villa, 25. That's how tight, everybody, this title race is. Not just the top four, not just the top five, depending, obviously, on how many teams make it to the Champions League. But that's how tight this Premier League title race is, which is, as Augie said from the top, very, very exciting, at least for the neutral. And now, Stevie Nicol, if Arsenal beat Brentford, albeit momentarily or albeit for a few days or whatever, they go top. A massive opportunity for Mikel Arteta and co.
Yeah, it kind of feels as though nobody's trying to grab this thing by the scruff of the neck and say, come and get it. We're the team to beat. As Augie said, Man City do look as though they're a little vulnerable, and I think it's telling that in a game where we're talking about players being tired, the Guardiola makes no substitutions. I mean, that makes no sense to me. It sort of tells me that he doesn't quite trust what he's got on the bench. For so many years we've been talking about how deep this Man City team is. Well, we didn't see that today. I firmly believe that he didn't trust any of his substitutes today to bring them on.
Which is very,
it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
And December coming up, right? And the Champions League, it's a bit confusing, right? Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense. You've got players running around who clearly are tired, who are exhausted, probably would be a better word, but you still don't bring anybody off. And you've got a Liverpool side who've got 5 fresh bodies who are trying to go forward and come running at you. And again, you still don't make any changes just to stiffen things up or just say, look, we'll take the point. So that to me says I absolutely agree with Augie. There's definitely a vulnerability about City. But as I said, at the end of the day, nobody's grabbing this title, which is good to watch. It's great for the title race.
Stevie, can I just ask you? So going back to your playing days, you were in that Liverpool side. I think won 3 successive titles. Nobody's ever won 4 before, and the reason for that is because obviously the motivation or there's something there. When you've won it so many times, is there a kind of subconscious switch off whereby you just know you're better than everybody else, and it's just there's just whether City have been affected by that
no.
They're just looking around the rivals thinking we can get to March, we'll be all right, and maybe this time they're not all right in March or April.
No, it's not, and there's a reason why you win 3 in a trot, because that motivation is always there. The fact of the matter is, I think City were just gassed. I don't believe, and it's down to the managers. Pep Guardiola 100% is, to me, exactly like the way Dalglish was and the way Paisley and Fagan were. There's an expectation and there's a standard. And if you go anywhere close to going below your own standard, never mind the team, then they're on you. And that's why you can go and win 3 titles in a trot. So, no, I absolutely don't think that Man City are thinking, we just need to keep playing and we're going to win anyway. So, no, I don't think that's the problem, Augie.
Yeah, it's the hunger of not just making it to the top, but staying there. That's obviously going to be a continuous thing. But it's a very, very tight title race. Before we wrap, very quickly, Augie, some updates on, because everybody's favorite month is coming, at least when it comes to staying on track on X/Twitter or online. The January transfer window will open. Is there any news regarding specifically, not even just City or Liverpool, but the Premier League? Any big moves are you expecting?
Well, I mean, I think the big one is Ivan Toney. Who gets Ivan Toney? And I think, this is all ties into the title race. If Chelsea get him, I don't think it impacts the title race too much. If Arsenal get him, then this is why I think January is so key, because if Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, Newcastle are all, in striking distance at the top of the table in January,
Mark Ogden.
do they go?
No, you forgot one team.
Don't even think about them.
Aston Villa, you're talking about?
Thank you very much, Mark Ogden. Keep going.
I definitely wasn't talking about Man United. But anyway, so for all these teams that are kind of within striking distance, are they going to be ambitious enough to make that signing? If Arsenal go for Ivan Toney, even if Liverpool went for Ivan Toney, the player that would deliver the goals and give them that extra edge to win games. I think Liverpool have spent a lot of money on their attacking players in recent windows, but they're not where they were. It's not Firmino, Mane, and Salah. It's Salah and it's kind of, it could be anybody. So, but whether Liverpool have the money or the motivation to go for Toney, I don't know. But he's definitely in Arsenal's sights. Whether they can do it with the money they've got, I'm not too sure. But if Arsenal sign Toney, I think that could make a massive difference. Newcastle have got money to spend, so I don't think Newcastle are quite ready to challenge City yet. But I do think that if one team is close enough to the top in January to bring that player in, then that will make it really interesting. So, but then City can also do it, can't they? City can go out and buy 3 if they want. So that's the danger. Yeah.
Stevie, anybody that you would want in January, if as a Liverpool, from a Liverpool perspective?
I think they need somebody to play alongside McAllister and Szoboszlai.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they got going forward's good. Obviously, Szoboszlai, McAllister. Defensively they could still be better, but I think the one glaring hole is right in the middle of the park because, unfortunately, Curtis Jones isn't good enough. Endo's not good enough. Harvey Elliott, he's not going to play that position they need, and he's not going to play before McAllister and Szoboszlai. So yeah, I think the one glaring sign in Liverpool, and I don't have a name for you, to be honest.
I've got a name for you, Stevie.
Go on then.
He's already at the club, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I know you don't like him at right back. England want to play him in midfield, and I'm not convinced that Trent is quick enough with his feet in midfield, but he's got the passing range. So would Trent answer the question and he's go for right back instead?
I don't know about that.
You need a protective player.
I mean, we need a
right?
protector. If there's one thing Trent's not, is a protector.
Correct.
So,
There's probably an inclination of Trent Alexander-Arnold wanting to always lead, like we saw today, wanting to go forward. I think Stevie is probably mentioning he probably wants somebody that can protect that middle. But it's a continued strength. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just throw in though? I'm not so sure Ivan Toney's a top class striker in a big club. Ivan Toney's been fantastic for Brentford. I'm not sure Ivan
and
Toney.
England. Anytime he gets a chance.
He's been okay for England. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, it's an unknown. But personally, I don't know whether he can walk in to an Arsenal or a Liverpool or a Man United and be the same player. I'm not convinced of that, to be honest. So, yeah.
The mentality.
What do you think, Doggy?
No, I think it's a good point. I think some players are better suited to with respect, smaller clubs, and the pressure that comes with playing in they call it the heavy shirt, don't they? Heavy shirt of playing for Liverpool and Man United. If you're Ivan Toney and you go to one of those clubs, or even Arsenal, you've got people talking about Thierry Henry, or you've got talking about Eric Cantona, you've got people talking about Ian Rush, all these great players of the past. You've got to live up to that pressure of being able to match those historic figures, and I think you don't have that at Brentford. You really don't. And I think even if you went to Chelsea, you've got Didier Drogba, you've got all these great players that you're going to be compared to, and I think that takes a certain mental strength. And yeah, I mean, he's never been tested, and he had a spell at Newcastle as a kid, didn't work out. So maybe Stevie's right. Maybe Tony hasn't got the mentality for it, but unless he moves, you're not going to find out. Then I think he can score goals, but whether he can handle the pressure, if he doesn't score goals, that is a big question to answer.
Yeah, I personally disagree. I think he would be a great move. Although reports are saying that he opts more for an Arsenal move than a Chelsea move. Say that again, Stevie.
You can have him at Villa.
We got Ollie Watkins. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. All right. Well, let's wrap this up, everybody. Mark Ogden from the Etihad, Stevie Nicol as well joining us. And as we mentioned, Man City's draw with Liverpool means that it's a very, very tight Premier League table. Arsenal need that win against Brentford. And, the table changes once again. But Villa Spurs tomorrow. And this Premier League season is about to get very, very busy indeed. Make sure to join us every single week here on ESPN FC. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.